Should I say it? The Aqara Hub. Let's see what all the hubbub is about. Greetings Internet, it's Dustin again with my HomeKit Home, bringing you all things Apple HomeKit, from news to how-tos to product reviews, just like this one. So if that's something that you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of our new videos as soon as they're released. Well, it's been a little while since our last video, and I do apologize for that. As you're very well aware, there's been some craziness going on in the world, and I kind of got wrapped up in all of that. But I do hope that you and your loved ones are staying safe and doing all that you can to ride this thing out. It'll pass soon enough. But until then, we do have another video for you, and one that I'm particularly excited about that I've been waiting on for quite a while, and that is the Aqara, not sure how it's pronounced. I'm sure I'll use both during the video. Either way, it's the Aqara Hub. Now, this video will be a little bit of a long one, and so hopefully you'll get some use out of it. What we'll do in this one is we'll unbox it, we'll talk about some of the hardware features, we'll go into the setup of the device, we'll look at some of the different features in the different apps that we can use, and then at the end I'll give you my final thoughts on the product. So without delay, let's get into the unboxing. Okay, let's break this thing down for a moment, shall we? The Aqara Hub is actually a security system in HomeKit, giving us the ability to arm and disarm the 120 decibel alarm on the actual hub itself. It also has a 16 million color LED ring around the outside. In addition to all of this, it's also a Zigbee hub, which allows us to connect up to 32 Aqara and select Mi Home accessories to it. It does require a power supply, and it does connect over Wi-Fi, so no need to use an Ethernet port. Fantastic thing. Let's get this thing set up.
Waiting to connect. Please open the app.
Well, I suppose we should do what she says. So one of the really interesting things about the Aqara Hub is that you can use either the Aqara Home app or the Mi Home app, and this is essentially how you're going to interact with the hub in terms of its child devices, right? So this really doesn't have much functionality in HomeKit without a child device, right? So this is something that comes from Aqara or select Mi Home accessories, right? So that's how you'll interact and add those to the hub itself, and then from there you'll be able to control them using HomeKit. So whichever one you choose really depends on you, right? So our good friend Simon over at HomeKit News did a fantastic breakdown of the benefits of each of the apps and which ones you might want to choose, and we'll leave a link to his article in the description box down below if you want to check that out. We definitely recommend it. Whichever app you choose, the setup process is pretty painless. You'll tap the add button at the top right. There's also an option to tap there on the screen to add the hub. You'll want to go through the list of accessories and find that specific hub, right? It's going to be, well, in our case, the Aqara Hub, right? Whichever app you choose, it's pretty much the same, right? So you want to make sure that the power is connected, that you have it plugged in, and that it is connected to your phone is connected to a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi network. So once we get all of our Wi-Fi credentials ported over to the Aqara Hub, we'll notice that it actually shows up as two different devices. It'll show up first as the security system, and then secondly as a light with the LED ring, which we can adjust the icon of in the Home app here. We can also adjust the name if we so desire, as well as which room that it's in, and whether or not we want to add it to favorites. We also have some suggestions for scenes to add these devices to. So for example, a leaving home scene, arriving home scene, or maybe even a good night scene would be some really good applications for these two devices. Once we've gone through all of that and we've gotten everything set up, we will be redirected either to the Mi Home app or the Aqara app, and we know that this is done because
Wi-Fi connected successfully.
we get that message. So let's go ahead and look at the Aqara app. When using the Aqara app, we have two different modes. We have HomeKit mode and we have Aqara mode. If you plan on using automations and scenes in HomeKit, whether they in Apple's Home app or in a third-party app, you'll want to be signed in to HomeKit mode so that everything functions properly. So for example, if you have an arriving home scene or a leaving home scene, or maybe a good night scene that includes the security system or the light, it might not function properly if you're not in HomeKit mode. So just be aware of that. If you're in HomeKit mode, we do have a few options here. The most important one are the trigger devices. Unfortunately, we're not able to use HomeKit sensors and switches to actually activate the security system. More on this in a future video. I've got some plans on how to work around this. But you'll need to have some sort of Aqara sensor or switch in order to be able to use the security system here. Also, a couple of other things we can do with the Aqara Hub when in HomeKit mode is we can have timers, we can also adjust the volume of the security system alarm, and we also have the ability to adjust our temperature units if we so desire. However, there are a few things that we do not have access to in HomeKit mode, most notably our scenes and automations. In order to do this, we do need to sign into what I'm calling Aqara mode. We can do this either through the scenes or automations tabs, or we can go into the settings tab and sign in there. Once we've gotten our email address set up with Aqara and all of our credentials are met there, then we can really take advantage of the hub. So we can see that we do have access to things like smart logs, which gives us a breakdown of any time the alarm was triggered, what triggered it, and times and dates and all of that good stuff. But one of the most notable features I think here is the 4 different alarm modes. So when we're using HomeKit and HomeKit mode, we have access to essentially 2. We have armed and disarmed, so we don't have, home, away, night modes, off modes like we did with the Otis CS1. And hopefully this is something that will have better integration in the future. But if we want to have different automations based on these different things, we can set up automations in Aqara mode, then sign out, go into HomeKit mode, and those automations will still work just fine. Again, if you plan on using HomeKit automations with the Aqara Hub, you want to make sure that whatever you do, you want to be logged in to HomeKit mode after you've made any adjustments with scenes and automations in Aqara mode. So we do have the 4 kind of preset security system modes, but we can also add our own if we would so desire. And the really cool thing about these is that they are essentially automations which are only triggered once that specific security alarm setting has been armed. So, another really cool thing about this is that we can not only have the automation run, so have some sort of action happen after a sensor or a switch has been triggered. We can also program delays, which is something that we don't have with HomeKit, and we can also have a push notification sent as well. These are 2 things that I've really long wanted to come to HomeKit, and hopefully Apple steps up their game with iOS 14, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But it is something that I do appreciate about the Aqara app. I did find automations pretty easy to set up. They use the if this then that sort of framework, and you can use any combination of other automations or schedules, accessories, or even the hub itself to create triggers for different automations, which I thought was really cool. The hub itself does have some built-in sounds, and we can use any of those sounds, to as a action for a trigger, the sounds aren't the greatest in the world. The standard alarm sound is perfectly fine for me, but some of the other ones are not exactly the highest of quality, just so you know that. So let's go ahead and look at how we can work with the Aqara Hub in the Mi Home app. So with the Aqara Hub, we essentially have the same functionality we do in the Aqara app in the Mi Home app with just a slightly different coat of paint. We can still trigger the alarm setting here. We can guard and unguard here, but we only have access to the home and away modes essentially, so guard and unguard. We can also look at all of our logs anytime that the hub was triggered. We can set the child devices that trigger the alarm. One of the big things that is different here, however, is that with the Mi Home app, we can actually add and have access to any of the other Xiaomi Mi Home accessories, which is a ton of different accessories we can use in tandem with the Aqara Hub. So that's a pretty big advantage. Another big advantage here is that we not only have access to Siri shortcuts with the Mi Home app, just like we do with the Aqara app. However, with the Mi Home app, we have widgets. So if you're not familiar with what widgets are, if you swipe right either from the lock screen, from Notification Center, or when you're on the first page of your apps on your phone or your iPad, you'll see the Today view, which has a bunch of different widgets. Well, there we can actually add any number of different widgets with the Mi Home app, anything from our scenes, our automations, different information that we can get from our accessories. So that's a really powerful tool. Our good friend Simon over at HomeKit News did a fantastic job of kind of pulling all of the features of both the Aqara app and the Mi Home app into one single blog post, and I'll link that in the description box down below so you can check that out if you're interested in more information about that. Turning our attention now to HomeKit and Apple's Home app, we do have two accessories that are exposed with the hub. Of course, we have the light, which functions just as any other color LED light in HomeKit. We can, of course, go through any of the 16 million colors. We can also choose color temperatures as well as dim and brighten the light. I wasn't too terribly impressed with the color saturation and the dimming capabilities of this light, but I'm also not very sure that we need this to be the world's best light, considering it's essentially just a night light. In terms of the security system itself, of course, we do have home and away modes, which are essentially just kind of arming and disarming the alarm. Those two actions are available in your scenes and automations. So if you want to add this to a arriving home scene or a leaving home scene or even a good night scene, I think that would be a pretty stellar idea. This is also available in any of your automations as well. So I was pretty disappointed to learn that we can't use any other HomeKit sensors to actually trigger the hub itself. And that's pretty disappointing. I've got tons of sensors from tons of different manufacturers, and the beautiful thing about HomeKit is that it has this ability to bring everybody together, and unfortunately the Aqara Hub isn't really playing ball here. I do have an idea for how to work around this, however, and that will be for another video, so stay tuned for that one. The last thing I wanted to touch on here today was the lack of security system mode integration. So we saw with the Onvis CS1 contact sensor security system that we can actually have 4 different modes in HomeKit. We have home, away, night, and off. And with the Aqara Hub, we really only have the 2, kind of arming and disarming, giving us home and away mode. And the interesting thing is that with the Aqara app, we actually have those 4 different modes plus some. So it doesn't seem all that crazy to me that we couldn't have those. I imagine this is something that Aqara will be working on for the future. So hopefully that's something they can work out soon. And there it is, folks, the Aqara Hub. I really do think this is going to be a game changer for HomeKit, just simply based on its accessibility. So the hub itself actually comes in at right around $60, and the accessories that we do have access to, at least at this point, are coming in at right around $20 in the US. So you really can't beat those prices. There are lots of different accessory types, from sensors to switches and buttons and all sorts of things that we can use to really build out our smart home with only one single solution. So that's a really good thing. You know, one of the standout features of this hub is that it connects over Wi-Fi, so it doesn't use up one of your Ethernet ports like, say, the Caseta bridge or the Philips Hue bridge does, but rather it just connects over Wi-Fi and then uses Zigbee to communicate with all of the individual accessories, which is a very solid connection. I didn't have any Wi-Fi drop-offs. The connection between the child devices is just rock solid. A couple of things that I didn't like so much about the Aqara Hub is the connection point. So I was really wanting the US version of the Aqara Hub so that I could plug it directly into the wall and have that seamless look. However, one of the things that actually happened is I didn't realize that it would block the other plug as well. And since I live in an older home, we don't have many outlets. That's kind of I'm not going to say a deal breaker for me, but it definitely changes how I approach different things in my smart home. So I would like to see some sort of option for either disconnecting the plug or using some sort of lead. That would make things a little bit easier. The hub does have a 32 device limit, which is pretty good for now, but considering just how cheap the accessories are, we'd really like to see that number kind of raise up a little bit. I have heard that Aqara is working on the second version of the hub, which is supposedly going to support up to 99 different devices. We'll have to wait and see when that thing comes out. By far the biggest downside to the Aqara Hub is its lack of ability to play well with other HomeKit devices. So at this point, we actually can't use any other manufacturer's devices as a trigger for the security system, which for me is a bit of a bummer. I do have a workaround for this that I've been planning out, and we will be doing a video as soon as this whole quarantine thing is over, so be on the lookout for that one. But in general, I do think the Aqara Hub is kind of a must-have for any HomeKit aficionado, especially at its price point. So if you are considering the Aqara system for your smart home, don't consider anymore. Just go ahead and buy it. Its features far outweigh any of its downsides that it could have, and you're setting yourself up for even more flexibility in the future. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you have the Aqara Hub? What are your experiences? Are you thinking about buying the Aqara Hub? Let us know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Also below the video in the description box, you'll find a link to pick up the Aqara Hub if you found this video useful and you'd like to help out the channel at no extra cost to you. We'd appreciate the love. Also in the description box, you'll find a link to our written review of the Aqara Hub. It has a little bit more information over at myhomekithome.com, as well as links to our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at myhomekithome. As always, if you found the video useful, you can let us know by giving us a big thumbs up. And if you're interested in more HomeKit related content, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of our new videos as soon as they're released. So I do have quite a bit of content planned for the Aqara Hub with the different accessories that work with it that'll be coming out in the coming weeks and months, so stay tuned for that. But I've also got some other things planned, some how-tos, some HomePod videos that'll be coming out pretty soon. I've also got some work with some other products that I'm pretty excited about as well, so don't forget to check back often. But that about wraps up this one for today. I do thank you for watching, and until I see you in the next one, this has been Dustin with My HomeKit Home.